Despite a recovering tourism industry in the city, the sector continues to face challenges. Among them are mainland tourists seeking other options and slow business in the evening hours. This as Financial Secretary Paul Chan urges Hong Kong businesses to double their efforts to enhance their nighttime attractions. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Hong Kong is experiencing a recovery as more tourists flock to the city. Around 3.6 million visitors came to the SAR last month, an increase of more than 30% on a monthly basis. Writing on a blog post, Financial Secretary Paul Chan said the Hong Kong Tourism Board reported that tourists arriving in the city primarily to shop have decreased significantly since the pandemic. Chan added that while the city's tourism ministry was forecasted to experience a rebound later this year, Hong Kong must strive to boost its global competitiveness and attractiveness. He said a growing number of tourists are coming to the city to participate in cultural and artistic activities. The Financial Secretary also pointed out that the government should further promote the city's unique and creative industries, as well as revitalize the SAR's nighttime economy. Meanwhile, former Secretary for Financial Services and the Treasury, Chen Ka-keung, said the city could be a platform for foreign companies to go public and attract investment.
Listing is about market opportunity. It's about getting the right companies, the good companies to come to Hong Kong to list. Basically, I think a lot of the potential companies to list in Hong Kong, of course, will be Chinese companies, okay? And perhaps also including other Southeast Asian companies. I think Hong Kong should be a much better platform for such companies to go public. Some of that would mean that we have to do more business development. We may have to do more consultation with the regulators, not in Hong Kong, perhaps in the mainland, perhaps in the other countries.
Chan stressed that while the city's GDP growth last quarter was worse than expected, the city's economy will take a turn for the better later this year owing to the U.S. interest rate nearing its peak. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Overseas, Malaysian regional elections on Saturday ended with Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim's ruling coalition and the Islamic-led opposition retaining control of 3 states each. Though the results were widely expected, polls showed that the opposition made strong inroads into the 3 states controlled by Anwar's multi-ethnic alliance. Nazvi Karim with more.
After a tense day at the polls, Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim can breathe a sigh of relief, at least for now. Though it doesn't mean he shouldn't be looking over his shoulder. State polls on Saturday will not directly impact the 2/3 majority of Anwar's multi-party coalition in Parliament, but the elections were widely seen as a referendum on his 9-month-old coalition government. The opposition, backed by the country's main Islamic party PAS, made inroads with the majority Malay Muslim vote. The Perikatan Nasional or PN opposition bloc, led by former Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin, earned 60% of local assembly seats for the 6 states holding elections. Anwar's Pakatan Harapan or PH, supported by the former dominant party Barisan Nasional, retained power in the 3 richer states, Selangor, Penang and Negeri Sembilan. PN strengthened its hold on the 3 poorer states in the Malay heartlands, Kelantan, Terengganu and Kedah, almost sweeping all seats up for grabs. The regional elections offer a clearer picture of sentiment among Malaysians after November's divisive general election resulted in a hung parliament. Anwar was able to grab power back then by forming an alliance with Barisan Nasional, the party embroiled in a corruption scandal involving former Prime Minister Najib Razak. Malaysia is battling inflation and a weak ringgit, but Anwar said the ruling coalition would continue working hard to serve the people in line with their desire to build Malaysia. Muhyiddin said the 146 seats his party won, compared to PH's 99, shows that the people had rejected Anwar's unity government. Before the election, Muhyiddin's party had 1 seat in Penang, 5 in Selangor and 0 in Negri. By the end of Saturday, the opposition had 11 in Penang, 22 in Selangor and 5 in Negri, while Anwar's coalition took losses in all 6 states. It is a clear sign that people want change, said Muhyiddin, who urged Anwar to take moral responsibility and resign. Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
In Pakistan, the government and opposition have agreed to appoint a little-known politician as interim leader until the country holds elections. Senator Anwar ul Haq Kakar from the southwestern province of Balochistan will act as caretaker prime minister to oversee the elections. According to a government statement, Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and opposition leader Raja Riaz both agreed to Kakar's appointment. Under Pakistan's constitution, a neutral caretaker government oversees national elections. These must be held within 90 days of dissolution of the parliament's lower house, which in this instance means early November. The party of jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan expressed hope that Kakar will ensure free, fair and credible elections. The wildfires that hit Maui in Hawaii are the deadliest in the U.S. for a century. 93 people are confirmed to have been killed, and the death toll seems sure to rise. People are still searching for loved ones 4 days on. Families are in makeshift accommodation and don't know when they can get back home. David Garrett reports.
The torched area of Lahaina is about 13 square kilometres. The camera is hovering over what were desirable beachfront properties. Now it's a wasteland. Over 2,000 structures have been destroyed or damaged. The cost of rebuilding Lahaina has been put at as much as $6 billion.
This is the largest natural disaster we've ever experienced. It's going to also be a natural disaster that's going to take an incredible amount of time to recover from.
At the Family Assistance Centre, desperate residents are trying to trace loved ones. June Lacuesta has been looking for 9 relatives for 3 days. He hasn't given up hope. Having posted photos on social media, he's turning to the centre for help. He's still waiting. Many survivors are in temporary shelters. The Hawaii governor said it is difficult to rehouse people because Lahaina is still without power. He has secured 1,000 hotel rooms nearby, but some of those need to go to workers coordinating the relief effort. Many are just pleased to be alive. They have been exchanging harrowing survival stories.
Because the ocean's there, do you want to get burnt or do you want to take your chances and drown? So a couple, 200 or 300 people were all jumping the seawall with their children. Cars are exploding, the cars are catching on fire. It's dark, it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it looks like midnight. And there's embers just flying at you, people are getting hit with, the cars sound like bombs going off. And I was just freaking out, I mean, I've lived here a long time, nobody's seen any kind of carnage like this.
Donations have been pouring in. People are in need of everyday items like shoes, diapers, toothbrushes. The governor and police have urged residents to be patient.
The great partnerships that we have and that we're forming, and they just started to land today, and they're going to continue to build, but they just got here. And so we're going as fast as we can. But just so you know, 3%, that's what's been searched with the dogs, 3%.
It's going to be a long, painstaking process to identify all the dead and an even longer road to recovery for the town of Lahaina and its people. David Garrett, TVB News.
China may suspend plans to build a new embassy in the United Kingdom near the Tower of London at a time when both countries seek to repair damaged relations. In 2018, China bought land on the former site of the Royal Mint for £250 million, hoping to build a 700,000 square foot embassy, its biggest in Europe. However, the project was blocked in February by a local council. China has until Thursday to appeal the decision, but Reuters cited sources as saying Beijing will miss the deadline. They will instead seek a promise from the British government to intervene if it resubmits a planning application. In a statement, Beijing urged Britain to meet its international obligation. The project was initially blocked amid concerns of terror attacks, protests and traffic in an area visited by millions of tourists each year. Welcome back to TVB News. Taiwan's Lai Ching-te has arrived in New York City for a stopover on his way to the South American country of Paraguay. In Beijing, the Foreign Ministry, as well as the State Council's Taiwan Affairs Office, called Lai a troublemaker and warned that secessionist acts will put Taiwan in danger. Lai Ching-te kicked off his trip to Paraguay over the weekend and made a transit in New York City. The move angered Beijing. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs said China firmly opposes any form of official interaction between the United States and Taiwan. It also opposes any form of U.S. connivance and support for Taiwan separatists and their separatist activities. Calling Lai a troublemaker, Beijing said his transit stop is aimed at enabling him to conduct political activities in the U.S., which would seriously harm China's sovereignty and territorial integrity, stressing that the Taiwan issue is the core of China's core interest and the first red line that must not be crossed in China-U.S. relations. Beijing has urged Washington to stop supporting Taiwan secessionist forces or allow related activities to happen. China said it will closely monitor developments in this regard and take resolute actions to safeguard national sovereignty and territorial integrity. Zhu Fenglian, spokesperson for the State Council's Taiwan Affairs Office, slammed Lai for selling out Taiwan for his selfish interest in a conspiracy to cheat votes under the guise of the transit trip, which undermines the peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait. Zhu noted Taiwan separatist activities and stability across the Taiwan Strait are as incompatible as fire and water. She added that what Taiwan secessionist forces have done runs counter to the regional mainstream public opinion for peace, development, exchanges and cooperation. That, she said, would only push Taiwan into a dangerous plight with fierce battles and put Taiwan residents in catastrophic situations. Meanwhile, the Chinese Consulate General in New York also released a statement and questioned Washington's sincerity over its pledges to stabilize and improve relations between the two countries. In Paris, the Eiffel Tower and its surrounding area were evacuated on Saturday following a bomb threat, a French police source said. Police said it was merely a precautionary measure, saying the threat turned out to be a false alarm. People were allowed to return to the area after 2 hours. Bomb disposal experts were dispatched to the tower, one of the most visited sites in the world. Some tourists said they were upset by the 2-hour closure because they waited in a nearly 100-meter queue at one of the entrances before the threat was called off. Starting tomorrow, high-speed rail passengers traveling between West Kowloon Station and Futian Station can make 3 last-minute changes to their trips for free. The upcoming measure is part of the MTR's flexitrip arrangement. Passengers could pick the flexitrip option on self-service ticketing kiosks before scanning identification documents. The system will then indicate the option to make changes to their trips, with the entire procedure lasting for approximately 2 minutes. Residents could also access the system via the mainland's 12306 website, online or on its mobile application. Passengers currently can make changes, such as the date of their ride and train compartment upgrades, for free 45 minutes before their trips. Lawmaker Yu Pak-leung said the lack of long-term planning led to public transport problems at the Kai Tak cruise terminal. Yu was speaking to TVB News in the wake of complaints from visitors struggling to find transport to the city's main attractions. Yu noted there wasn't enough communication between the authorities and operators at the pier, adding that their cooperation is inefficient. The lawmaker pointed out the Culture, Sports and Tourism Bureau should do more to solve the transport connectivity problem at the terminal, as it could damage the image of the city's tourism industry. Yu added the last blueprint was suggested in 2017 and that it's due for an update. Another concrete falling incident today, this time in Sanpokong. No one was injured. Officers cordoned off the area after pieces of concrete fell onto the pedestrian pavement. Police received a report at around 7 a.m. that a concrete slab measuring at around 1 meter by half a meter fell from height on Chukluk Street. Rescuers were also deployed on site and were taken up through a fire engine ladder. They also used tools to remove parts of the rendering underneath the building's scaffolding. Staff members from the buildings department arrived on site to inspect the building's structural safety. That's the news. Thanks for watching.